The third wave is on in India. Almost 60,000 new infections were reported in a day. New cases have doubled in 4 days. In 9 days, they've gone up by 6 times. Omicron is fueling the surge. Metro cities are the worst hit. How should you read the situation? What does the global picture look like? And does this cloud have a silver lining? In our cover story tonight, we bring you the 10 big developments on the Omicron surge that you must know about. Number one, the surge in India, a 55% jump in 1 day. More than 58,000 new infections on Tuesday. How many of these are Omicron? 75% of the cases in Delhi, Mumbai and Kolkata, according to the head of the government's COVID task force. They're Omicron. Omicron has reached almost every part of the country and it has spread very fast. On December 28th, India had 9,000 new cases. January 4th, over 58,000. That's a jump of 6 times. Development number 2, the death toll. So far, India has reported only 1 death from Omicron officially. Way below 1% rather of the entire caseload. It happened in Rajasthan. A 73-year-old patient who is said to have suffered from diabetes and hypertension as well died of Omicron. So mild infections and low death count. That's the good news. The bad news is that Omicron has handicapped health systems worldwide. In New Delhi, more than 400 health workers are infected. At this rate, services are going to be hit. Point number 3, the next 2 weeks are going to be critical for India. Mumbai could peak this week. It is the biggest hotspot in India right now. A projection from the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research says Mumbai will hit more than 16,000 cases a day. City health officials say the figure will be around 20,000 new infections daily. What are we doing to contain the surge? In some places, night curfews have been imposed. The problem is they don't work. That's point number 4. There is no science behind night curfews. This comes from the World Health Organization. It says India needs science-based policies and that soaring Omicron cases could lead to more dangerous variants in the days ahead.
We're still at a phase where the virus is evolving quickly. The more it spreads, the more it transmits, and the more it replicates, the more likely it is to throw out a new variant.
Point number 5, the global picture. It's a tsunami of cases as predicted. More than 10 million people tested positive in the last 1 week. That's 1 crore cases in a week. 10 million. The previous record was 5.7 million. It was set in April 2021. Now we have 10 million. That's almost double. Around the world, there are hundreds of thousands of people who are isolating at home. Look at the United Kingdom. This is point number 6. More than 1 million people are confined to their homes in the UK. They tested positive for the Wuhan virus. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has said that this is the fastest rise in cases that the UK has ever seen.
Our United Kingdom is in the midst of the fastest growth in COVID cases that we've ever known. Previous waves of the pandemic didn't have a single day with more than 100,000 new cases reported. One day last week, we had 200,000 people test positive. And the latest figure today is another 218,000, though that includes some delayed reports. So anyone who thinks our battle with COVID is over, I'm afraid, is profoundly wrong.
The United Kingdom has reported more than 218,000 cases, its highest daily case tally in this pandemic. Despite the surge, it is easing testing rules. People who test positive using rapid testing kits will not have to take a swab test to confirm their diagnosis. British officials say this is being done to free up capacity at testing centres. Development number 7 comes from France. President Emmanuel Macron is very angry with those who are not taking the vaccine and he has a strategy to deal with them. In an interview, he gave this message for anti-vaxxers, and I'm quoting, "The unvaccinated, I really want to piss them off," that's the word he used, "and so we are going to continue doing so until the end. That is the strategy. I won't send the unvaccinated to prison. I won't vaccinate by force. So we need to tell them from January 15th, you won't be able to go to the restaurant anymore. You won't be able to down one, won't be able to have a coffee, go to the theatre, the cinema." This is how the French media has headlined it. Macron's declaration of war against the anti-vax. His comments sparked chaos in the French parliament. The opposition is outraged.
Nous y voilà, en plus de la crise politique déclenchée.
Here we are. In addition to the political crisis triggered by the interview of the President of the Republic, the presidential monarch who allows himself to insult a part of the French people by calling them non-citizens and irresponsible.
France is struggling, as is China. Development number 8, the contact tracing app in Xi'an has crashed. Remember, Xi'an is China's biggest hotspot right now, the first city to be put under lockdown last month. That was 2 weeks ago. China has not managed to contain the outbreak yet, so 13 million people are locked up at home. They depend on this app to meet their needs. They must show this app to move around, to enter buildings. But in the last 2 weeks, this app has crashed twice and led to chaos. What does China do? Sack local officials for quote-unquote dereliction of duty. The anger in Xi'an, meanwhile, is building up. People are running out of food and essentials. They're resorting to barter, exchanging electronics for food. Development number 9, in neighboring Japan, officials in Okinawa are angry. This region hosts American military bases. It now has an Omicron surge. And locals blame US military personnel for the outbreak. On Tuesday, 164 cases were detected at the American bases. 164. So far, around 1,000 cases have been found in 9 US military bases. Apparently, these officials and their families were not tested. They were allowed to freely enter and leave the bases. So lockdowns in China are not working, night curfews in India make no sense, and free movement in Japan is not helping. How do we tackle the surge then? Like I always say, vaccines remain our best bet. Israel is trying to boost its way out of the Omicron wave. It is giving people a second booster dose, and that's development number 10. A study in Israel found that with a 4th jab, antibodies go up by 5 times. Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett has shared these findings.
We know that a week after the administration of the 4th dose, we see a 5-fold increase in the number of antibodies in the vaccinated person. This most likely means a significant increase in the protection against infection and against severe hospitalization and the symptoms.
Well, good for Israel. Not everyone can get a booster, though. Forget that. Not everyone can get a single shot yet. Only 57% of the world's population has got a Wuhan virus shot. The remaining 37% are still unvaccinated. That's more than 3 billion people unvaccinated. And that's enough for the virus to keep spreading and mutating. So all the best and hang in there. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.